Hey everyone, my name is Malcolm Ohanwe. I am a broadcast journalist, I am a radio and television host, and I'm a music and culture fanatic. And I'm very excited because I have the pleasure of hosting and moderating this interview with the fabulous Alexis Ffrench.
Thank you so much, Malcolm. Great to meet you.
Ffrench is a British piano player, pianist, composer, and producer, a triple threat. You have really been shaking the table in the classic music industry. You came out with your first album in 2006. Today, he is Britain's best-selling classical composer. You have amassed 500 million global streams, 250,000 followers on TikTok. Even the kids know what's what. The Sun, the newspaper Sun, said you might be the biggest classical music artist of the present. I mean, when I just look at all the stats, fastest growing classical artist in the world, one of the biggest streaming classical artists in general, the king of piano chill. You know, you have your own royal title. Yeah. You've cultivated your own sort of classical soul. Your brand new album, Truth, is out right now.
Yes.
Reading or hearing all these accomplishments, how does that make you feel?
Well, to hear you say that, it sounds magnificent. I'm obviously really proud and grateful to be where I am, but I by no means consider myself to be to having arrived at any point. I'm still on a journey.
Well, journey is the right word. We are on a journey. We want to talk about so many things. We want to talk about your music. We also want to talk about, obviously, it's Black Music Month, so we want to talk about those topics, how music and Blackness go together, especially in classical music. But first, we want to kind of also be able to get to know you a little better. Obviously, a lot of people will already be familiar, but some people are not, so you always got to catch up.
Sure.
So you grew up in the UK, born into a Jamaican household.
Yep.
How was that? How much of the Jamaican heritage still lingers in you?
Well, I think growing up in a Jamaican household, the things which I remember most prominently, the discipline of the household, actually. It's just the idea, as my mum used to say every day, you need to work harder than such and such, X, Y, and Z. And she never labored the point, but there was just that notion that whatever you do, you need to be twice as good. But really, as my dad was the driving force in terms of my music, but the house was rich with the sounds of Jamaica, rich with the sounds of amazing Black artists, rich with the smell of Jamaican food. So I suppose all of those things that you might expect from a West Indian family were prevalent in my household. I grew to really love and respect them, particularly the food, and that still lives with me today, that love of West Indian food and culture.
Give us the sense in people that might not know Jamaican food, what were some of the smells and some of the colors and some of the textures that you would see on your plate?
Yeah, certain foods went hand in hand or associated with particular events. So for instance, I used to be a church organist. So from very, very young, when I was about 7, I became a church organist. And so I played the midnight masses and weddings and all those things. I remember the Jamaican fritters that we used to have when we came home from midnight mass. So as soon as I got off the organ, finished playing, West Indian fritters, and my word, they were so beautiful. My mum used to make these fritters and they were incredible. So it's not only the smell, it was...
What are fritters?
Fritters.
I'm German, I'm sorry, I might not know, but I don't even know. I can't even think of nothing in my head. You need to describe this
Okay,
to us.
so we're talking saltfish. Saltfish fritters. So encased in this kind of patty with onions, spiced onions and this sort of thing. Very flavoursome, quite thin in texture, but really packing a punch. Really, really, really delicious, super delicious. But we only used to have them, I think, after midnight mass. So I remember those occasions, loved midnight mass, loved playing them. My dad used to love hearing the tunes that he loved, particularly Johnny Mattis, played on the organ in this Catholic church. So after all the hymns were played, I used to improvise on themes by Johnny Mattis and Sam Cooke as people used to process down the aisle, and then we used to come and have that. Jerk chicken, cowfoot, I had once. I only had that once. I couldn't get past how it looked on the plate. It was this kind of glutinous and this kind of indistinct shape. But it's a real delicacy, apparently. But I just tried it once. Jerk chicken, I think lots of people know what jerk chicken's like.
Yes,
it's kind of, okay, yeah, my dad used to make that. Rice and peas, of course.
Do you think that was part of the reason why you were the youngest British organ player in church, organist? Were you even aware when you were 7 or 6?
No, I was never aware. When it comes to the discipline and stuff, it wasn't just music, it was also maths. So I used to study maths to a high level to a high level when I was about 4 or 5 with my parents, and books and just basically everything, knowledge, maths, everything by candlelight.
So like the classical, like there's a stereotype of like immigrant parents being very like studious and like being adamant about you know, being always on top of your game,
always on top. Just kind of better,
ahead of the curve.
Better. So and that went to music as well. So the pieces that I studied from that age, it was my teacher. I was very fortunate. I've always had wonderfully generous and gifted teachers. I remember my first teacher, a guy called Mr. Brooks, used to present Chopin etudes to me, which is things you generally study later, much later. And then I used to play the Chopin etudes, and he knew I could improvise in any style. So he said, right now, improvise on this, or improvise this, or create music like a Beethoven sonata or another. But nothing was presented like it was special, ever. And that's the same with maths. It was not like you're studying A-level maths and you're such and such. It was just, you do that because you can.
Okay, so you didn't feel like you were especially talented.
No, it was only later when I went to places. I went to the Royal Academy of Music when I was like 10, that I realized that people struggled with things. Some people struggled with things.
But you didn't.
and it was kind of interesting to me because, you know, kind of things like, okay, we're going to play some Bach chorales, and now we want you to write down all the chords or the Roman numerals as they were, right? But for me, I could always see the music, so I just wrote down all the notes and wrote the piece down, right? So what I spent a lot of my time doing was learning how other people learned how to do stuff. That was kind of interesting to me too.
Because for you, it came more innate or organic.
I could just do it.